Toyota's reputation in Australia is treated like gospel. Buy a Hilux, the thinking goes, and you'll never see a workshop bill that actually hurts, and you'll never need to think twice about the warranty booklet sitting in the glove box. But pull the real warranty documents and the real capped price servicing schedules side by side, brand against brand, and a different picture shows up. 5 brands on sale right now genuinely out-warranty and out-service the Hilux, dollar for dollar, year for year, and none of them are some hypothetical startup you'd feel nervous parking next to a tradies ute at a job site. These are established manufacturers with dealer networks, spare parts pipelines, and real Australian sales numbers behind them, not badges you've never heard of. This isn't a hit piece on Toyota. The Hilux still earns its reputation in plenty of areas: resale value, dealer network depth, and a track record most brands can only dream of matching after just a few years on sale. But best reputation and best deal on paper are 2 different questions, and today we are only answering the second one, which utes actually cost less to back and own, using the numbers the manufacturers themselves publish, not vibes, not forum folklore, and not decades-old assumptions that haven't been checked against this year's paperwork. If you've ever bought a car partly on reputation alone, you already know how easy it is to skip that second check. We are counting down from the closest challenger to the one that beats Toyota's ownership terms by the widest margin. Some of these will surprise you, because a couple of these brands still carry a reputation from a decade ago that has almost nothing to do with what they're actually offering buyers in 2026. Before we get into the 5 challenges, it's worth being precise about what Toyota is actually offering, because most people only know half the story. The advertised Hilux warranty is 5 years, unlimited kilometers. But Toyota also runs something called Toyota Warranty Advantage, which extends the engine and driveline coverage out to 7 years, provided the vehicle is serviced on schedule according to the logbook. Here's the detail most owners miss. You don't strictly have to service at a Toyota dealership to keep that extension active. Just stick to the correct intervals and keep proper records. That's a genuinely good deal, and it's one Toyota doesn't advertise loudly enough. But notice what it actually covers: engine and driveline only, not the full bumper-to-bumper protection that a genuine 7-year warranty implies. Several of the brands on this list offer that fuller 7-year promise as standard, with nothing extra to opt into and nothing conditional beyond turning up for scheduled services. Even trade press that covers this market for a living has pointed out that Toyota's official 5-year headline warranty already lags behind Kia, Milligram, and GWM, all sitting at 7 years, and Mitsubishi, which stretches out to 10. So keep that distinction in your head as we go through this list: an engine-only extension you have to know about and qualify for, versus a full warranty that's just there from day one. It's also worth being upfront about recalls, since that's the other number people assume tells the whole reliability story. Every mainstream ute brand on this list, including Toyota, has had at least one recall on Australian roads at some point. On its own, a recall isn't proof of a bad vehicle. Plenty get issued for minor compliance items, labeling faults, or software updates rather than anything that leaves an owner stranded. What actually matters more is how a brand handles the fix, how fast parts are available, and whether the campaign is communicated clearly. That's a harder thing to rank in a video like this, which is exactly why we are sticking to the numbers that are published, fixed, and comparable across every brand: warranty length, servicing cost, and what's actually covered, rather than trying to score something as variable as recall handling. It's worth adding one more piece of context before the countdown starts, because warranty and servicing are only part of the total cost of owning a ute. Genuine parts pricing matters just as much once a vehicle is out of warranty. A cheap capped price service means little if a replacement turbo or a set of injectors costs thousands more than the equivalent part from a rival brand. This is genuinely difficult to compare fairly across 5 different manufacturers, because parts pricing varies by dealer, by region, and by exactly which component fails, so we are not going to put a specific dollar figure on a here rather than guess. What we can tell you is this: brands with a longer established Australian parts supply chain, like Toyota and Isuzu, generally have an easier time keeping common parts in stock and priced consistently, while newer entrants are still building that same depth of local supply. It's a genuine trade-off worth weighing alongside the warranty numbers, not a reason to dismiss any of the 5 brands on this list outright.
Hekje 5. Isuzu D-Max 2024-2026.
Start with the benchmark itself on the servicing side. Toyota caps its service pricing between $245 and $290 per visit for the first 6 services on the Hilux. That sounds cheap per visit, until you notice the catch. Hilux servicing runs on a 6-month, 10,000 kilometer interval, which means you're back in the workshop roughly twice as often as most rivals. Add it up over 150,000 kilometers and you're looking at around 15 separate visits, totaling somewhere near $4,350. Plus Toyota charges $99 a year for roadside assistance, a service most competitors throw in for free as standard. Isuzu's answer is the D-Max, and it starts with a genuinely longer promise. A 6-year, 150,000 kilometer warranty, a full year past what Toyota commits to as standard before any conditional extension comes into play. Isuzu backs that with its flat price servicing plan, $449 flat per visit for the first 5 years, on a 12-month, 15,000 kilometer interval. That's fewer trips to the workshop for the same distance, which matters if you're a tradie who bills by the hour and can't afford a ute sitting on a hoist on a Tuesday morning instead of out on the road. On top of that, Isuzu throws in up to 7 years of free roadside assistance, no annual fee attached, which alone offsets a fair chunk of what Toyota charges every year for the same service. Here's the mechanism behind it. Isuzu has run essentially the same core diesel platform in this ute for years now, refining rather than reinventing it generation to generation, and the current D-Max range still splits between a 2.2-litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel producing 120 kilowatts and 400 newton meters, and a 3.0-litre 6-cylinder turbo diesel making 140 kilowatts and 450 newton meters for buyers who need more towing muscle. That kind of platform maturity is exactly why the brand felt comfortable stretching the interval out to 15,000 kilometers and adding an extra year of cover. There's less unknown risk sitting on the balance sheet for them to worry about, and it's part of why Isuzu Utes have built such a strong reputation with mining and fleet operators who run vehicles hard for years without a second thought, buying dozens at a time on the strength of exactly this kind of consistency. That fleet and mining presence also feeds back into the used market in a way that's worth knowing about if you ever plan to sell. A steady supply of ex-fleet D-Max utes coming onto the used market each year means buyers have plenty of comparable listings to check pricing against, which tends to keep resale values more predictable than for a brand with a thinner used market footprint. Now the honest number, because this is where the case gets more nuanced than the headline suggests. Independent workshop comparisons pricing out a full 150,000 kilometer ownership cycle put the D-Max's total service spend at roughly $4,490 across 10 visits, against the Hilux's roughly $4,350 across 15 visits. So on raw dollars alone, it's close to a wash, sometimes even slightly in Toyota's favor once you account for every line item. Which is exactly why the D-Max sits at number 5 and not higher. The win here isn't a landslide cost saving, it's fewer days off the road, 1 extra year of unconditional warranty cover before Toyota's engine-only extension even kicks in, and free roadside assistance instead of an annual fee. If your priority is minimizing downtime and maximizing the length of your safety net, the D-Max edges it. If you're purely chasing the lowest total dollar figure over a decade and a half, the gap essentially disappears. That's a real distinction, not a marketing line, and it's worth knowing before you assume cheaper to service automatically means cheaper, full stop. Number 4. Mitsubishi Triton 2024 to 2026. Toyota's baseline, again, is 5 years unconditional. 7 years for engine and driveline only if you keep to the schedule. Mitsubishi went further than almost anyone else in the segment and built something structurally different. A 10-year, 200,000 kilometer conditional warranty on the current generation Triton, built on Mitsubishi's newer MV platform. More than double the length of Toyota's baseline commitment, and one of the longest terms ever offered on a mainstream ute sold in Australia. The current Triton is also rated to tow 3,500 kilograms braked across most of the range, putting it squarely in line with the segment's benchmark towing figures rather than trailing behind on capability while it leads on paperwork. The catch is right there in the word conditional. To keep that decade of cover active, you have to service the Triton exclusively within the Mitsubishi dealer network for the entire period, on schedule, every time. Skip a service or take it to an independent mechanic even once, and the warranty doesn't void completely, it drops straight back down to a 5-year, unlimited kilometer policy, functionally identical to what Toyota already offers as its unconditional base case with no strings attached. The financial commitment reflects that scale. Mitsubishi publishes a decade of cap price servicing at an average of $669 per year, totaling around $6,690 across the full 10 years. That's a noticeably bigger number than what a Hilux owner pays across Toyota's initial cap price window, but it's also buying twice the timeframe of protection, and once you're past year 5 on a Hilux, or year 7 if you've kept the engine and driveline extension active, a Toyota owner is largely out in the open market for the rest of the vehicle's life, paying whatever their local dealer or independent workshop quotes, with no manufacturer cap in place at all. So here's the real trade-off, laid out honestly. The Triton's warranty genuinely beats Toyota's on paper. Double the years, double the kilometers, and full coverage rather than an engine and driveline only extension. But it's a conditional promise that depends entirely on your own discipline as an owner, every single year, for a decade. Miss one interval because you're flat out on a job site or the local dealer's booked out for 6 weeks, and that advantage evaporates instantly. No appeal process, no second chance. Toyota's shorter unconditional warranty, plus its conditional engine extension, is a known and predictable quantity. Mitsubishi's longer one is a 10-year contract you have to actively hold up your end of. Both are legitimate approaches, but only one of them beats Toyota by the numbers if you actually follow through on it for the full decade. Number 3. KGM USO 2024 to 2026. Toyota's 5-year unconditional policy is straightforward and well understood across the market. It applies whether you're using the Hilux for the school run or for hauling a trailer to a job site 5 days a week, though remember commercial use vehicles can carry different terms with some brands, which is exactly where our next challenger makes its strongest case. KGM, the company now selling the vehicle formerly badged as SsangYong, backs the Musso with a full 7-year, unlimited kilometer, bumper-to-bumper warranty, no engine-only asterisk, no conditional dealer servicing clause reducing it back down if you slip up once. What makes this one genuinely stand out isn't just the length, it's that KGM explicitly states the cover applies to commercial use as well as private use. That detail matters more than it sounds like on the surface. A meaningful number of trade utes in Australia are registered under an ABN for business use, and several manufacturers quietly attach restricted or shortened warranty terms once a vehicle is being used commercially, sometimes without the buyer realizing until they need to make a claim. KGM removing that asterisk entirely is a real point of difference, not a footnote buried in the fine print. On the servicing side, KGM runs a 7-year published service pricing menu, so owners know the minimum cost of every scheduled visit well in advance, rather than being quoted on the day depending on which dealer they walk into. It's a transparent, published structure, the kind of thing that's easy to plan a trade business's maintenance budget around at the start of the financial year, rather than guessing. It also positions the Musso as one of the more affordable ways into a 7-year warranty in this segment, sitting below several rivals on drive-away price while matching or beating their cover on paper. For a buyer cross-shopping a work ute purely on drive-away price plus warranty length, the Musso is one of the strongest value arguments in this entire list. It's just not the brand most tradies think to cross-shop in the first place, because the badge doesn't carry the same instant recognition as the others on this countdown. Now the honest limitation, and it's a significant one if you're outside a capital city. KGM's Australian dealer footprint sits at roughly 55 locations nationally, compared to well over 160 for a brand like Kia and a network that stretches into almost every regional town for Toyota. A 7-year warranty is only as useful as your ability to actually get to a dealer and use it. For a tradie based in a major metro area, that's a non-issue. For someone running utes out of a regional depot 3 hours from the nearest KGM dealer, that same warranty means more time off the tools every time something needs attention undercover, and more diesel burned just getting there and back. Before we get to the top 2, it's worth pointing out a pattern that's already emerging here. Every single challenger on this list is competing on warranty length and servicing transparency, not on unproven engineering claims. None of them are telling you their engine is secretly better than Toyota's. They're telling you their paperwork is better, and backing it with a signature. That's a meaningfully different, more honest claim than most ute comparison videos make, and it's exactly why we are sticking to documented numbers rather than opinions for the rest of this list. If you've noticed a warranty detail on your own ute that we haven't covered here, it's worth checking your own logbook against what we've laid out, because the fine print changes more often than most owners realize. Number 2. GWM Canon 2024 to 2026. Toyota's reputation was built over decades of dealer investment and a service network that reaches almost every corner of the country. That kind of depth doesn't happen overnight, and it's genuinely one of the Hilux's strongest selling points, regional Australia included. GWM decided the fastest way to compete with that kind of legacy trust wasn't to try and match the dealer count immediately. It was to outpromise Toyota on paper from day one. The Canon comes with a 7-year, unlimited kilometer warranty across the range, a full 2 years longer than Toyota's unconditional standard cover, with no conditions attached about where you service it. The Canon range also carries a 5-star ANCAP safety rating, and depending on variant, runs fuel economy figures between 7, 6 and 8, 4 litres per 100 kilometres, competitive numbers for a vehicle in this weight and towing class. GWM has also been actively extending its ownership package. Capped price servicing on the Canon now stretches to 5 years or 70,000 kilometres, up from a shorter window when the model first launched. which tells you the brand is actively working to close the gap on ownership confidence, not just leaving the offer static while it waits for buyers to notice. GWM has also been growing its dealer footprint quickly alongside its sales volume, adding new locations across both metro and regional areas each year as the brand's Australian presence matures. The Canon Alpha plug-in hybrid variant is also a signal of how quickly GWM is willing to move compared with legacy brands, offering electric-only running for shorter trips around town while keeping the diesel-equivalent range and towing capability for longer hauls out of the city, the kind of powertrain flexibility that Toyota, Isuzu, and Mitsubishi haven't matched with anything on sale in this segment yet. The mechanism here is straightforward business strategy rather than a hidden engineering secret. GWM is a newer entrant fighting for market share in one of the most competitive vehicle segments in the country, and along, unconditional warranty is one of the most effective tools a challenger brand has to get cautious buyers to take a chance on an unfamiliar badge. It's the same playbook Kia and Hyundai used decades ago to break into a market Toyota and Ford already dominated in the passenger car segment, and it worked for them then, which is exactly why GWM is leaning on the same strategy now in the ute space. The honest caveat matters here more than with any other brand on this list. GWM's Australian sales history, and therefore its real-world long-term ownership data, is still relatively young compared with a nameplate like the Hilux that's been on Australian roads for generations. A 7-year warranty is a strong financial promise, but it isn't the same thing as 7 years of proven reliability data sitting in workshop records across the country. Give it more time on our roads before treating that warranty length as equivalent proof of long-term durability. Right now, it's a confident bet by GWM, not yet a track record the way Toyota's is, and that gap will only close with more years and more kilometers on Australian roads.
1. Kia 2025-2026.
And that brings us to the brand that makes the strongest complete case against Toyota, not just on one measure, but across warranty length, network access, and pricing transparency all at once. Toyota's baseline for the Hilux remains that 5-year, unlimited kilometer unconditional warranty we've referenced throughout this list, extendable to 7 years for engine and driveline only if you stay on schedule. Kia's answer with the Tasman is what the brand actively markets as Australia's best warranty offer: 7 years, unlimited kilometers, full bumper-to-bumper cover, with no conditional dealer servicing requirement attached the way Mitsubishi's Triton deal has, and no engine-only carve-out the way Toyota's extension works. You don't have to gamble on remembering every service date for a decade to keep it active, and you don't have to read the fine print to find out what's actually covered. It's simply there for 7 years, full stop, the same way it is on every other Kia sold in Australia. What separates the Tasman from the other 4 challengers on this list is that Kia isn't asking you to trade dealer access for a longer warranty. Kia's Australian dealer network already sits above 160 locations nationally, more than 3 times the size of KGM's footprint, and comparable in reach to some of the most established brands in the country. That combination, a genuinely longer unconditional warranty, backed by a dealer network deep enough to actually use it without driving hours out of your way, is the specific gap none of the other 4 brands on this list close completely. The Tasman also brings a higher gross vehicle mass and gross combination mass than several rivals, giving it a genuine edge for buyers who plan to tow near the segment's 3,500 kilogram ceiling regularly rather than just on the brochure page. On top of the warranty, Kia backs the Tasman with a 7-year capped price servicing program on a 15,000 kilometer, 12-month interval, plus a complimentary initial service at 3,000 kilometers, and roadside assistance that extends out to 8 years for owners who stay within the servicing plan. Every number is published upfront, dealer to dealer, with no regional pricing surprises depending on which branch you happen to walk into. Here's the honest limitation, and it's the same one that applies to any brand new model line. The Tasman only entered the Australian market in 2025. Kia's 7-year warranty promise is proven. It's backed the brand's SUV and passenger lineup for years with a strong track record of honouring claims without a fight. But the Tasman itself, as a ute specifically, hasn't had a full ownership cycle on Australian roads the way the Hilux has across multiple generations spanning decades, and resale value on a genuinely new nameplate is still an open question that only a few more years of used market data will answer. This is the strongest paper case on the list, full stop. Whether it becomes the strongest real-world case too is something only a few more years of tradies actually running these utes hard, on real job sites and real corrugated outback roads, will confirm. So where does that leave the comparison? Toyota still wins outright on 2 things nothing on this list currently matches: decades of accumulated reliability data across multiple Hilux generations, and the deepest dealer and parts network in the country, town for town, right across regional Australia. If either of those is your top priority, the Hilux remains a completely defensible choice, and nothing in this list changes that. But most trusted reputation and best value on paper are genuinely different questions. And if you're asking the second one, 4 of these 5 brands beat Toyota's own published numbers, sometimes by a wide margin. Isuzu trades a near-identical total cost for fewer workshop visits and an extra year of unconditional cover. Mitsubishi doubles the warranty length if you hold up your end of a strict decade-long deal. KGM removes the commercial use asterisk entirely, no exceptions, at one of the more affordable entry prices in the segment. GWM and Kia both back themselves for 2 years longer than Toyota's unconditional standard, with no conditions attached, and Kia does it with a dealer network big enough to actually make that promise easy to use wherever you are in the country. The real lesson isn't avoid Toyota. It's that brand reputation and the actual paperwork sitting in your glove box are 2 different things worth checking separately, line by line, before you sign anything, because the second one is what determines your bill for the next decade, not the badge on the bonnet. Reputation gets built over generations, but a warranty is just a document, and documents are worth reading properly before you assume the badge alone is telling you everything you need to know. Before you make that call yourself, it's worth being honest about which of these factors actually applies to how you use a ute. If your vehicle is registered for commercial use, the KGM Muso's unrestricted 7-year cover is worth a much closer look than its brand recognition might suggest. If you're the type of owner who will reliably book every scheduled service on time for a decade without fail, the Mitsubishi Triton's conditional 10-year warranty is genuinely hard to beat on paper. And if you want the longest unconditional cover with the least amount of fine print to worry about, backed by a dealer network you can actually get to, Kia's Taskman is currently the strongest complete package in the segment. None of that makes Toyota the wrong choice. It just means the badge on the bonnet shouldn't be the only thing doing the deciding. If depreciation is more your concern than servicing costs, we've got a full breakdown of exactly which used utes hold their value and which ones quietly lose thousands the moment they leave the yard. Worth a look before your next purchase, whichever badge you end up choosing.